So here we are with another special episode of Open Floor with Nihshank, and today we have with us Raveena Kumari Sethia, who's a senior associate at Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas. And just like for you, just like for everyone else, we have a short, little, sweet bio prepared for you. I'm going to read it out for our audience. So get ready to meet the charming legal virtuoso Raveena Kumari Sethia, from gracefully navigating the intricacies of competition law at Shardul Amarchand and Mangaldas to imparting her wisdom as a visiting guest faculty member at Jindal Global Law School. Raveena's charms know no bounds. Not content with just legal prowess, she is a force at her forum and a co-founder of the Apji, Vijai Singh and Rani Aruna Kanwar Foundation. Raveena can correct me if the names were a little messed up. With accolades from Jindal Global Law School and an esteemed LLM from the University of Cambridge, Raveena brings her unique charm to every legal endeavor. So I hope you join us for this discussion, and we're going to have an amazing time today. Thank you so much for being here, Raveena.
Thank you, Nishang. That was super kind. Thank you so much for having me. I hope this turns out to be a fruitful and unfiltered discussion, as you call it.
Yes, absolutely, here you are, and I am going to glorify you a little bit. Yeah, you are a guest on India's one of the most watched educational podcasts, and that is all kudos to the audience. But how has life been like? You started as a Jindal Global Law student. That's an extremely good college, and finding a place still here. How is it? How does it feel? And
Well, it's been a journey like most people. I decided to do law pretty much on a whim when I was in school, and I didn't have a vision of how law would be for me as a career. I went to law school with one sole agenda, saying that I am going to not limit myself and I will try my hand at everything that comes my way and every opportunity that comes my way to be able to discover and explore what I would want to do eventually. And while participating in extracurricular activities, doing a multitude of courses at law school, I discovered my love for competition law, and it was extremely organic in the way that my interest grew in the subject matter. And eventually, I think through further education, through being able to explore the subject matter in a different jurisdiction as well, I found my feet back in India, try to make a change here in the competition landscape and build something out of it. So, in short, I
that's
think that's pretty much how this has panned out for me.
right, right. No, no, that's really amazing. And I know you started with the formal parts of it because I know every student who's especially sitting at their placement year, बहुत लोगों का day zero शुरू हो जाता है in their fourth year के बाद वाला semester in the fifth year. And I can understand, even when I decided to host you as one of the guests, a lot of law aspirants were in fact asking this question कि भाई इनकी profile में internships बहुत सारी tier one है. अच्छा, Ravina, firstly, are you a first gen lawyer or is there
Yes.
someone you're a
No,
first
I'm a
gen?
first-time lawyer. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. That's extremely cool, Ravina, because we've had people who are like from second and third gen, and there's nothing to do with that. It's just that you like sort of get an edge in the sense that there's someone who's done this at least. There's someone who's there to guide you. So how did you, how did this pan out to you in your mind? And also हम हिंदी में भी बात करेंगे कि यार एक स्टूडेंट होता है ना जब सबके अपने अपने horizons होते हैं. I really liked how you said कि मैंने करते 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 I stumbled across this and then I found like कि I am in love with competition law. Let me try this out, give this a chance, and then move forward with this in life. But then, how do you stumble it across? जब आप first year में हो, what is your advice to someone who's just stepped into the law school and they see all these fancy internships in big firms? What do you think about that?
Well, I think two key things. The
Okay.
first one is अपने आप को आप limit मत करो. Don't start your career as a law student or a lawyer in a budding way by saying I will only do this and not do anything more. I will not study this subject. मुझे यही करना है. मुझे firm में ही job चाहिए या मुझे litigation ही करना है. You are here to learn. आप school से अभी आए हो. Give yourself that opportunity and chance to explore and discover everything possible for you. The second piece of advice I will say is डोंट पैनिक. क्या होता है कि यू जॉइन लॉ स्कूल और शुरू से वो जॉब की टेंशन शुरू हो जाती है. ये मुझे कहाँ प्लेसमेंट मिलेगी, मुझे कहाँ इंटर्नशिप करनी चाहिए, मैं किससे कनेक्शंस बनाऊं, वो सारी डाउट्स और इनसिक्योरिटीज आ जाती हैं. बट यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड कि everybody in the industry that you potentially want to connect with or want a job from, They realize that you've just started. They are not going to expect too much from you. And similarly, you should not aim that from the very beginning, from your first semester of law school, you have to reach, and tier one law firm or a senior counsel and make sure that you intern with them, because your value add to them will be very limited. You would not have studied the subjects that they need you to study. You would not have been able to get enough experience that you could help them with in real matters and real transactions. So start off small, do things first that you're comfortable with. Do things with, maybe intern with a budding lawyer, somebody who's just started out. It'll give you more hands-on experience. Or intern with an NGO, or even with a journalistic platform. You will understand how to write, how to think, how to be able to help people with solutions. And that is a skill set that will later always help you in life, whether you work with a senior counsel or a big law firm or in any subject matter. So
Right.
don't panic about things from the get-go, and make sure that you absorb everything you possibly can around you.
Right, right, right. No, absolutely. And I think even the last time we had, Avdhi, who's a guest on the show, she talked really about how result oriented we have become. So then there is this bracket, this mind that we set to कि मुझे XYZ firm में जाना है. And
Hmm.
we're not enjoying the process as much, probably because of that. It's just that I want to land there somehow. And in that due process, I think sort of you panic a lot, you take all this anxiety, all that stress. I think it becomes a part and parcel of that. But Ravina, what exactly gives that student the edge? Okay, because these are extremely competitive firms we are talking about. There is a lot of competition around, especially a lot of people trying to break in through. And even with respect to your internships, let's start from probably that, and then we can talk about placements and all of that. But what gives you the breakthrough compared to any other student who has applied to the same firm?
Yeah, I think the way your CV is and your academic grades are, definitely. See, while the internships you do may not be in your hands, given that, in a lot of ways you need support from your law school, or you probably need to know the right people to reach out to, you do have other things in your control. For example, there are competitions that you can participate in to build your CV. These could be either through moot courts or ADR, or even writing competitions or things like that, right? These are things you can do for free. These are things you can do without interfering in your coursework. And you can sort of build your CV by exploring these facets that are available to you as a law student. If you do things like this, it shows a law firm or a senior counsel that you are enthusiastic. You can probably write or speak well. You understand complex issues of law, and you're able to apply your mind. So these are skills that they're really looking for. They're not
Right,
looking to see all the time that there is a stamp in terms of where you've interned or who you know. They're looking
right,
to see through that what is the skill set you've achieved, right?
right,
What is the value of having something on your CV? It's to be able to convey things that people should be able to gauge in terms of your experience and skill set. So
right,
I would really recommend doing things like that to be able to build yourself. That will
right.
really help you stick out as compared to your peers and be somebody or a candidate at least worthy of being given, at least a chance in any
Right,
of
right.
these.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, also Ravina, like let's step back थोड़ा बहुत और पीछे जाते हैं एक स्टूडेंट की माइंडसेट पे जाते हैं. Let's walk in their shoes. And जैसे कि आपको कंपटीशन लॉ पसंद आया and you're saying that you must have tried other things across. Firstly, आप मतलब मुझे ये बताओ कि आपने क्या-क्या try out करा and then you felt that. And also secondly, were you targeting like tier 1 internships starting से, क्योंकि जैसा आप बोल रहे हो कि एनजीओ में भी it's also fine, you want to do a journalism kind of an internship, that's also fine. To create the skill set is what you're trying to focus on. But then you see this on the other side, there is this buzz about, you have to land your tier 1 internships as soon as possible. How do you navigate between the two as a student?
So see, I think if you do want, I get the pressure of landing that tier one internship. वो सबको लगता है कि यही मेरा end goal है. But you must understand that if you are in a 5-year program, आप first 3 years तक तो subjects भी नहीं पढ़ रहे हो जो tier one firm में practice होते हैं. तो आपका
Absolutely.
कोई भी value add नहीं है. अगर आप intern कर भी लेते हो through a contact or through other means, that will never lead to anything concrete, because
Right,
they know कि अभी you're too young, you're not able to contribute.
right,
So I would really recommend spend the first 3 years building your CV in terms of doing diverse internships. And then your end of third year onwards, or maybe beginning fourth year, is when you should start applying to bigger law firms. Because by then you would have achieved various skill sets through your other internships. You would have also gained enough exposure through extracurriculars, and you would have studied the subjects that probably matter in terms of being able to assist them properly, right?
Right.
If I give you my own example, in my first year of law school, I interned with a newspaper called The Telegraph. It
Okay.
was a
Yeah.
journalistic internship for a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
I used to go to various events and cover them and write pieces that would be published eventually in the next day's paper. It was very fast paced. You had to be ready on short notice. You had to be a people person for people to be able to give you bites, and you had to write in a crisp and succinct manner so people could understand the point in a short space.
Right.
So, I picked up these skill sets, which that time I didn't think would be important. But today, in a lot of things that I do, they do play out very much. After
Absolutely.
that, I did an internship with a small sort of company in Calcutta with the in-house legal team to
Right.
be able to understand sector specifically what do in-house roles mean. And this
Right.
was a tea company essentially. So,
Right.
what would an in-house team be doing? How would they be navigating it? And it was a regional sort of practice, to be able to understand in a particular state how they're going to go about things or what is the pace of it.
Right.
And then slowly, slowly, I moved my way up to other sorts of internships. So it's a process that you have to go through. And that
Right.
is probably the best way to do it in any case.
Right. In all of this, process, Ravina, did you ever feel the need to, highlight or find that mentor? Because बहुत लोग जो फर्स्ट जनरेशन बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं, जिसे मैं अभी आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, है ना, तो आई एम श्योर जो लॉ स्टूडेंट्स देखेंगे, दे विल बी एबल टू sort of resonate with you with whatever you are saying, especially the ones who've been going through this process. But क्या were you trying to at some point even identify कि यार ये person या ऐसे लोग मुझे चाहिए, स्पेशली व्हेन यू सेइंग दैट यू वांट टू कनेक्ट विद पीपल, कि ये मुझे गाइडेंस दे सकते हैं, दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई कैन लुक फॉरवर्ड टू एंड प्रोबब्ली दैट विल आल्सो हेल्प मी एडवांस माय करियर?
See, honestly, मेरे केस में ऐसा नहीं था.
ओके.
I was not looking out for a mentor, and there
ओके.
was nobody as such that I can point out to and say, this one person has probably helped me in my law school journey and to be able
राइट.
to secure a job. I think you have to eventually rely on yourself. कोई
राइट.
भी आपको कुछ भी गाइडेंस दे दे या कुछ भी बोल दे, इवेंचुअली आपका करियर है, आपकी पर्सनालिटी है, आपके एंड गोल्स है. सो यू
राइट.
नो वेयर यू आर बेस्ट सूटेड एंड वेयर यू आर नॉट. द बेस्ट वे टू डू इट इज ट्राई आउट एवरीथिंग वन टाइम
राइट.
एटलीस्ट, सो दैट
राइट.
यू नो यार ये मुझसे होता है, ये नहीं होता है. यहाँ आई कैन जेल बेटर, आई कैन सी दिस लाइफ फॉर माई सेल्फ, और आई कांट सी.
राइट.
That's if you are somebody who prefers having guidance, if you prefer having mentors, your first point of contact should probably be your seniors in law school. They've
राइट.
gone through things recently that you're going through. They've gone through these processes. They probably have ready references. They probably know how certain places function and they can give you better guidance on that. Your second line of contact should probably be your professors. Because again, they know subject matters better. They can help you in terms of improving your writing or your speaking, or guide you in terms of competitions. So use these type of people. um
राइट.
you know Resources easily available to you, and eventually you should give credit to those who are here, whose experiences you can learn from very easily firsthand and within your same ecosystem.
Right, and though even the ones who are trying to actually help you out, that's really well put, Ravina. Also, Ravina, like आप जब इन सारी चीजों को कर रहे हो, ये तो चलो हमारी जर्नी की बात हो गई. अब एक टाइम आता है कि we've also heard, it is very clear and it's out there that a lot of people cannot contain that mindset. People go into tier one firms, एक साल काम करते हैं, 6 महीने काम करते हैं, they are like, this is not the place for me. I am quitting this job. And at this same time, I see someone who's trying to also make social change. She's co-founding different foundations. And I see someone who's a guest lecturer at Jindal Global Law School. I see someone who's also a senior associate at some, if I put it out right. How are you navigating through all of this? पहले आपको क्या लग रहा है? आपको सब कुछ करना है? Because this is when I see from a hindsight, or probably someone who's seeing it from the third perspective, it looks like there is so much on your plate always, and it also feels like at the same time you're trying to even expand more. जैसे आप आज ये podcast पर हो, I was seeing and I was checking through people also can approach, I think, Raveena through a LinkedIn page. She posts about her जो भी जगहों पर वो जा रही हैं, जो मीटिंग्स कॉन्फ्रेंसेस. अगर आपने नहीं करा है तो मैं लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में डाल दूंगा, आप देख सकते हो, उनको रीच आउट कर सकते हो. आई होप दैट इज फाइन इन केस दे वांट एनी एडवाइस और गाइडेंस. बट कहाँ है ये, कहाँ जा रहा है, हाउ यू बैलेंसिंग ऑल ऑफ दिस? आई मीन.
Uh, I mean, that's an interesting question. I don't think anyone's asked me that before. Um, no, so see, I do work in terms of my day-to-day life. It's a very office and work specific, deliverable specific life,
Right.
where a lot of it is around deadlines that I need to meet or do. But
Right.
apart from that, see, I've always been somebody, and that's why I always say that a lot of it just comes down to a personality and how you are as a person and what your end goals are. A lot of people, honestly, are very happy being able to perform their level best at work, have a great family life, and that's about it. And that's perfect. I mean, it gives you that balance, it gives you purpose in life, it helps you mold your character and be the way that you are. I've always been someone, and this has been my personality, you know, even before law school. I've just always been somebody who's not satisfied by having a very unidimensional sort of life. I like being able to explore um, various avenues to try to be able to upskill myself and, explore what else I probably might be good at. So, working is the first thing that I thought of because I've always been someone who likes being financially independent.
Right.
So, being able to provide for myself has always been and is always going to be the first priority. So
Okay.
hence,
Okay.
like my job is my first priority in a lot
Okay.
of ways because that is what helps me be able to achieve that goal.
Right.
And I owe a duty to my clients, I owe a duty to my
Right.
seniors to be able to assist them in the best I can. So
Right.
that's always, and that should be very clear to you what your first priority is so that everything else flows in a manner that you can kind of balance.
Right.
Um, the idea of being able to probably teach or do other things came a bit later. It's not that it was simultaneously to start working because you're very young. You can't,
Yeah.
if you don't know, what will you teach?
Absolutely.
The idea of starting to teach came about a year and a half ago,
Right.
where my alma mater itself was interested in seeing how practitioners can come and teach small courses, short courses,
Right.
where students would be able to learn from the day-to-day perspective and understand concepts through real examples. And
Right.
I thought that was really intriguing and interesting because when I was a law student, we had some courses like that, and I looking back, I realized that they really benefited me in the way that I'm able to understand um, working, as
True.
compared to just academia and being able to study concepts. So I
Absolutely.
thought to myself that if I'm able to do that for some students, it might make maybe a 0.01% difference to their careers and when they start practicing. So I said, I'm going to sign up for this. And this is completely pro bono, like there is no money involved in this teaching assignment at all. And it is even optional to do it, virtually to some extent. But I prefer being there because I feel like these are short courses. Students will not learn unless, there is that face-to-face interaction, or they might not be able to build a bond with you or feel comfortable asking doubts unless you are available for that. So I make it a point to go physically to the best extent possible and do it in a hybrid model. And it is taxing in terms of being time consuming, but it is something that brings me a lot of joy personally, which is why I've agreed to do it. And that also means sacrificing those weekends, for doing other things. But that is a personal choice that, each of us can make in terms of, how we think of our time or our priorities. Apart from that, I do very small things, honestly. I mean, my foundation is with my sister. It's in memory of my grandfather who passed away during COVID. And we thought of doing things that,
Yeah.
close to his heart and being able to help those causes.
Yeah.
But it's a very slow work in progress. Unfortunately, we're trying to upscale ourselves, but because we live
Right.
in different cities and, we have so many other commitments, it becomes tough. But whenever we can and we have opportunities, we do try working towards that as well. So it's a lot of small little goals and small little steps that, I'm taking, and I'm sure a lot of people like me are taking to be able to make a small little change in, other people's lives.
Right, right. What I take back, apart from all the beautiful things that you have said, is how you've constantly put it, that 0.01% change agar aa paye, or all the small things that you're doing. So I get it. You're extremely humble about things. But more importantly, I don't think Raveena, to be fair, and someone who's sitting on the other side of things, sees these things as small. I see a lot of movement. I see a lot of workforce, sort of also that mentality that you're saying, that sacrificing your weekends and all of that. I think something along the lines of superhuman and all that would be a good title for this podcast. We yet to decipher
Please
and
don't.
decide on that. So,
Please. It's really
no,
not.
but no,
And I'm
I mean,
not
yeah.
being humble, I'm just being very realistic. Please don't do that.
नो नो बट दिन में 24 घंटे हैं. बट रवीना कॉन्स्टेंटली ऐसे बात कर रही है जैसे दिन में 48 hours है. Because
नहीं नहीं.
it's Sam is obviously also, and I would want to know, you can probably comment the best on this, and even people who've come from tier 1 firms, they know that the work life balance is a little bit, especially starting में थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे रहता है. There is workload काफी ज्यादा रहता है. एंड देन आपने बताया कि कैसे स्टार्टिंग में वो प्लान नहीं था. इट्स नॉट लाइक इट वाज हैपनिंग साइमल्टेनियसली, बट वो 1 डेढ़ साल में वो टीचिंग वाली चीज भी हो गई. एंड देन यू डूइंग दिस प्रो बोनो ऑल्सो, यू आर कमिंग फिजिकली as well, is what you're saying, to a campus like Jindal, and then obviously it's going back. तो ये सारी चीजें बैलेंस कैसे हो रही हैं, is what I'm trying to understand.
Sure. See, I think it's largely a lot to do with being able to have support from my workplace.
Right.
And if they were not okay with giving me those couple of hours off on, even though they're weekend classes, sometimes we do have other work on weekends. If they were not okay with me being able to do that, I wouldn't
Absolutely.
be able to even try this, right? And
Right.
a lot of it comes from having that support system from them, and for them to be able to also realize that you might have other goals and dreams, and you might want to achieve them in various ways.
Right.
So definitely a lot of kudos to that support that exists.
Right.
Apart from that, see, I haven't taken up something that I can't do. I would
Yeah,
not commit to teaching a long-term course, because that is something
definitely.
that would be unachievable.
Definitely.
Given that, as I
Yeah.
told you, we need to have very clear
Yeah, yeah,
priorities.
obviously.
For me, it wouldn't have been feasible, given that, I wouldn't have been able to sacrifice my work for something like this. Um, and therefore, I picked something that was, in my view, doable. It was short term, it was not too much. And honestly, there are a lot of people nowadays who do it. I'm not the
Right.
only one. There are
Right.
people in my workplace as well who've done this in the past
Right.
and successfully, while
Right.
managing probably way more than I do. So it
Okay.
is genuinely a question of using a free or a technically available slot and seeing how best you can do it, and expecting that support and flexibility from also the students who are involved, right? There are some days which are designated where I probably can't make it, and then they all adjust to seeing where we can find a mutually convenient slot on those days. So it's a lot of being able to have that interpersonal flexibility with people, and for them also to be able to be adjusting.
Fair enough.
It's really
Fair enough.
nothing. Yeah, it's really, I'm very touched that you feel like it's being able to balance a lot, but it's honestly just a question of being able to have that support from both sides.
Right, right, right. Way more than what you do is also again what I picked up from this. But and I'm not going to trouble you anymore on along those lines. But no, Ravina, whatever you're doing, be blessed. It's fantastic. I absolutely love and adore the kind of work that you're putting in, and that's the reason even I approached out to you, and I personally wanted to just reach out to you for all the law students. I think एक और बहुत important चीज ये है कि जो आपने बताई ना कि practitioner का perspective law school में. I think someone who talks to law students on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and that feeling is there कि कई बार theory में हम फंस कर रह जाते हैं. I'm being very
Hmm.
clear about it. Like if you deal with Arbitration and Conciliation Act, or you're talking about IBC, ऐसा कुछ उसकी theory और formalities जो भी हैं, जो पढ़ा रहे हैं उससे related उसके cases होते हैं land work. That is generally a way of teaching that goes around. But the practitioner's perspective adds a lot to it. So it's definitely not 0.1%. In fact, to a lot of people, it means more than the normal average classes of theory also do. बट आपके लिए कितना डिफरेंट है, क्योंकि एक जगह पर आप क्लाइंट से डील कर रहे हो, है ना, यू डीलिंग विद अ लॉट ऑफ न्यू पीपल, कोई भी क्लाइंट आ सकता है, यू डीलिंग विद पार्टनर्स, मैनेजिंग पार्टनर्स, अदर एसोसिएट्स ज्वाइन द फर्म, एट द अदर एंड यू डीलिंग विद स्टूडेंट्स, जो कि कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट सबसेट है, मे बी फ्यूचर में दैट माइट मर्ज इन समवेयर, कहीं जाकर वो चीज मर्ज कर जाएगी, बट अभी तो काफी डिफरेंट सबसेट्स हैं. सो हाउ डू यू फील अबाउट बैलेंसिंग अबाउट दैट, एंड क्या डिफरेंसेस यू फील एज इट कम्स someone who's teaching like a practitioner?
Yeah, I think, see, that's an interesting question, like, see, the short answer is that you can learn from anybody. No, there is no such rule that you will only learn from somebody who's your senior, or that only somebody who's much older than you or your age or your contemporary will have a point or a way of thinking that is worth appreciating, right? You learn across the board. And that's something I strongly believe in. A lot of, in my experience of teaching this course twice now, there have been various insightful inputs that I've received from students, on the approach in terms of looking at things. And, they are important because they help us realize new age thinking as well in a lot of ways, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, there are various ways to be able to take an age old concept, a tried and tested concept, and apply it to new factual circumstances, or think of new ways in which those points would apply. And it is being able to keep in touch with, um, I won't say younger generation because I don't think I'm that old, but
Yeah,
at least, people who are currently in law school, still being exposed to various subject matters, maybe have a better insight in terms of pop culture of the day or whatever it is, right?
yeah,
And be able to draw parallels and examples from various scenarios to make a different point or use a different approach in answering the same questions. So I
right,
think that has been honestly a great learning experience for me, which is why I find this teaching, assignment to be something that always brings back way more than I put into it. And
right. And absolutely, absolutely. And no, shout out to both Jindal and then Sam for it, for being the support system. And I'm a little suspicious of how politically correct all your answers are, and most of them are to the point. No, I'm just joking around. But yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing, Raveena, the way you've been answering all those questions. And there is a lot that goes on behind emotionally also. अच्छा, ये एक चीज ये आप तक लिमिटेड है, एंड ऑब्वियसली आप ही इस पे कमेंट कर सकते हो. एक ऐसी लॉ कॉलेज, एक ऐसी यूनिवर्सिटी जहां मैं स्टूडेंट बनकर आई थी, टू गोइंग बैक एंड नाउ टीचिंग द स्टूडेंट्स, इमोशनली हिट करता है. डू यू फील कि यार ये क्या हो गया मेरे
I,
साथ?
yeah, deja vu तो होता है every time, you do go back and you feel like, oh, ये मेरा campus था. I used to sit here, I used to eat here, and अब ये हो गया है, ये ऐसे change हो गया है. But the beautiful thing about Jindal is that it is extremely connected to its alumni. They
Right,
have a very strong network and they do make sure that they organize enough interaction opportunities where alumni, whether you're teaching or doing whatever under the sun, you have a platform to be able to remain connected.
right,
And I
right,
think that's something worth um, commending them on, because it's very difficult to be able to manage that for batch on batch and group on group, but they do it and do it very well at that. But yeah, it does feel a bit strange, that place where I used to sit and work in is now
yeah,
become this conference room or something.
right,
The library that I used to sit at is now revamped or things like that, So it does bring those bittersweet memories for sure.
absolutely.
And maybe it's subconsciously another reason why, one might choose to always go back and do things like this. It's a way
Right,
of sort of remaining
right.
connected to half a decade of your life in a way.
एब्सोल्युटली, एब्सोल्युटली. रवीना, एक और चीज जो मतलब पर्सनली मुझे समझ में आ रही है, इट्स नॉट लाइक सम एस्पिरेंट्स as it I see you doing a lot of social work, आप ये भी कर रहे हो, इन सारी चीजों के बीच में एक मतलब जैसे कि फैमिली लाइफ भी होती है, that is also there. You said if that those are your priorities, and matlab we've like Sana Javed, we've had professors come in here and talk about how they are balancing it, or even people who have left their corporate jobs and then came in here. Kabhi kabar, does it take a toll? And because this interview has been completely positive, and we know that life is not all sunshine and beautiful flowers and all of that. There are a lot of setbacks that one goes through, and this is something that probably you can answer the best. Have you ever felt कि यार ये चीज मतलब मेरी कोई भी अदर पर्सपेक्टिव पे या कोई भी अदर काम पे या फिर मेरी फैमिली लाइफ पर भी टोल ले रही है, एंड देन हाउ हैव यू डेल्ट विद इट इन योर ओन वे?
You mean in terms of teaching or in terms of
प्रोफेशनली,
work or both?
प्रोफेशनली, बेसिकली
Okay.
द इंटर रिलेशनशिप इन द सेंस कि यार एक फैमिली भी होती है, यू हैव अदर रिलेशनशिप्स आल्सो, एवरीबॉडी हैज, एंड
Hmm.
उसको बैलेंस करना, उनको भी वो भी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं, उन्हें भी टाइम देना पड़ता है. And then
Yeah.
on the other hand, you're doing so many things which you're not accepting, and you put it as so little. But then
Good.
it is there. It is there. And then how exactly does this interrelationship पे कभी वो चीज affect हुई है, and you have gone back and you've been like, okay, I need to analyze things out and probably set it into perspective now.
Yeah, honestly, it is challenging, and there's always that period where you feel like, I could be more available to my family, um, in relativity than I am now. It is challenging, yaar, and at the end of the day, we are all human. हमें भी अपने सपोर्ट सिस्टम्स चाहिए होते हैं, हमें भी अपने इंटरपर्सनल कनेक्शंस मेंटेन करने होते हैं. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, you need an outlet to vent, which is not just your colleagues and not just your students. You need a way, you need your people who know you in a deeper way, in a, unprofessional, absolutely candid, unfiltered way, to be able to sometimes come and just tell you the truth in the way that it is also. So of course it does. Yeah, it is always a challenge, and it's something that, we do face time to time. But luckily for us, I think there are some down periods as well, where things like, it's just the way the sort of financial years and transactions and matters pick up. There are some down periods, and it is in those periods that you want to reclaim a little bit back from your life. So maybe, travel a little bit, or go and see your family for a short while, etc. But I do realize that, as compared to a generation before us, or even people, practicing for over a decade and above, as compared to now, there is a shift in terms of the way families also perceive um, careers, and especially those of
Absolutely.
women.
Absolutely.
Earlier, I think the expectation was a lot more in terms of being able to balance domestic responsibilities with
Right.
your professional duties. And
Right.
therefore, the challenge was always so much more. It was always breaking that glass ceiling for
Yeah.
a lot of people who've come before us.
Right.
But thanks to them, the path is widened up for us a little bit. And,
Right.
today we have the ability to be able to be committed professionals while having support from our families in the background. Like, for example, and I know you think this is like a very positive, politically correct interview, but to make it more personal, I will tell you, for example, my mother-in-law, when she was younger, she was a lawyer, she was practicing, she was doing well for herself. She decided to grow in terms of her you know, in her person, she didn't stop studying. She didn't stop achieving in terms of thinking that, oh, I've become a practicing lawyer, or today I have a family or a husband who can provide for me, and therefore, I will completely stop investing in myself. She continued to study. She did an MBA. She, even has degrees in terms of being able to professionally educate children. And she turned it around to actually establishing a preschool for children, where, children with special needs study along with and beside with other children in a cohesive environment. And she does this while being able to balance her family, her children, her home, her other responsibilities, and things like that. But because she's had that exposure and experience of being able to build something of her own in a world which was so much tougher, in a generation that was so much tougher, she has that level of insight and empathy for me, where those expectations are very leveled and reasonable as compared to what she had to go through. And I do think it's women like that who have been able to set examples for us, and help us and guide us in a way to achieve more, and
Right.
that speaks to generations of having done that before.
Right, right, right. No, and also with respect to the politically correct and all that, but I think the reason why I've kept this season unfiltered is because I think this is who you are, Raveena.
Mhm.
Nobody for so long after so many questions can put up a front. So I see you as it is. I think this is the person you are. Whatever you're saying, it seems very genuine. And my next question to you is if you ever want to try politics. No, 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 no. I'm not gonna ask that. But yeah, no, it's the
And
way
never
you're
say
answering.
never. क्या
Never.
पता क्यों?
No, but the way you're answering these questions is really beautiful, and thank you for sharing that personal insight. And no, it's not, it was a joke. It's not politically correct or anything like that. This is who you are. And I think, that just shows out in your personality. Okay, Raveena, let's get to another very important aspect. और ये मैं नहीं पूछूंगा तो students मुझे मार देंगे. आपने LLM किया University of Cambridge से. So you have this option after LLB, that is BLLB honors या BBLLB honors का 5 year का people do the course and they go for LLM, right? आपने firstly, why was your identification Cambridge? Is it got to do something with respect to competition law? Secondly, it's a twofold question. What is your advice to someone who's pursuing an LLM? So this is also, and I'll elaborate a little bit on the more on the question side. This is a little weird because a lot of practitioners have come in and also said that you don't need that LLM. And then on the other side, there are people who are coming and saying that it's good to have that LLM, and then probably come and work in that environment and with their traditional master's degree. How do you think? What is your perspective on this?
Um, so see, I think to answer your second question first, I think it's very personal in terms of whether you want to do an LLM, and
Right.
it's very personal to your goals eventually. So if your intention is to probably try to move abroad or be able to, settle somewhere else, then an LLM is a really good outlet because you have the ability to study in another jurisdiction, give their bar exam, apply for jobs, and build your way up. If you would like to come back to India, it's really a question of whether you want to invest in your personal growth in this manner or not. I do agree that it's not compulsory. I do agree that it's not an absolute necessity that you need to do. It's something that you should do if you think that that experience will add value to your life, either academically or in terms of being able to be exposed to a sort of multicultural environment with students of various countries. So
Right.
that's a call each person has to take for themselves. As far as I'm concerned, to answer your first question now, um, see, for me, honestly, an LLM was never on the cards when I was in
Okay.
law school. My
Okay.
idea was to be able to start working and, make a life for myself. But I think around my fourth year, I felt like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't even try.
Right.
And I just applied probably to one or two places, no more than that. Um, I remember like I didn't take any help or guidance during the application process. It was very much on a whim. I honestly thought I'm going to do it for my ego and see whether I get in or don't get in. And I won't actually go. Like it was genuinely never part of my
Okay. Okay.
but then, yeah, but then, I got in and, I thought to myself, okay, it satisfied my ego. Let me now see if I really care about it or not. And again, it was not genuinely part of my agenda at all, but somewhere mid-July of June or July of 2017, I got information that I've been shortlisted for a scholarship. And this was there's an automatic process where they look at your profile and see what scholarships match you. I didn't apply for external scholarships as much. So when I got that, I said, I will be doing myself a disservice now if I don't even try to go for that interview and see my best and, give my shot and see if
Okay,
it
okay.
pays out.
Ravina, sorry to interrupt you here. You said something about this scholarship being personal to your profile, right? And you didn't apply for it. So, like, this is specific to your university, or did you find that this is something that's just what
No.
happens abroad?
So the way it works with Cambridge is that, at least with Cambridge, I don't know
Yeah.
about other
Okay,
universities,
okay, fine.
is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you have the option of your profile being considered for scholarships under a trust that they have,
Right,
which comprises of various individual scholarships. And
right,
if they feel there's a committee which
right,
looks into your profile, and if they feel that your profile might be suitable for a scholarship, they shortlist you.
right,
And then you have, in most cases, you have an interview. In some cases, you might directly get the award.
right.
And it is that financial assistance then that helps you go further.
Definitely, definitely.
That is the
Ravina,
context.
what is the kind of money we are talking about? Because I think we can be fluid about this because बहुत से लोग हैं जो LLM सोचते हैं करने का, but then we very well know that it's expensive also. So without the scholarship, what is the kind of money are like someone who's an aspirant is looking at?
See, I went a couple of years ago, and
Yeah,
since then there has been inflation.
yeah,
So when I was there, I would have said that given the tuition fee and your accommodation and day-to-day
yeah.
expenses, you should look at a number of at least around 50 to 65, 70 lakhs. And this is
Right,
from my experience, but of course,
right,
now I don't know what the scales are. But
right,
it is an expensive proposition, which is why
right,
things like scholarships, even if they are redeemable interest-free loans,
right,
are a great push for students to be able to try these things out for themselves,
right,
and pay it back later on. So I
right,
strongly encourage that people, if they are thinking of LLMs, they should
right.
definitely apply for that assistance.
Right, 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 definitely. And then apart from that, do you think like okay, so places like Germany and Netherlands and all of this is comparatively at a lower cost. Do you think that studying abroad, ऐसी universities वगैरह भी like after identifying your university and मतलब it's more like an advice क्योंकि आपने तो कहा कि you did it in another manner, you just did it for the sake of it and then eventually this happened. But someone who's trying for let's say an LLM और वो आई आउट कर रहा है कोई कंट्री और अपार्ट फ्रॉम ट्यूशन या लिविंग जो भी एक्सपेंसेस हैं, व्हाट अदर फैक्टर्स आर यू लुकिंग फॉर इन अ यूनिवर्सिटी कि ये मेरे फेवरेट कोर्सेज हो यहाँ पे, फैकल्टी कैसी हो, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट लाइक व्हाट आर द अदर जेनरिक फैक्टर्स?
See, I think the primary things you must consider are number one, the subjects that they offer, the types of LLMs that they offer.
राइट,
Secondly, you need to look at the professors that they have. At the end of the day, those professors will teach you,
टीच
they
यू,
will add value to you, they will give you further recommendations if you do better. And third aspect is the costs and the jurisdiction, right?
राइट,
The first is the most important because
राइट,
eventually, by this point, by the time you're applying for your LLM as a law student, for example, you have some idea in terms of what courses you like. You have some
राइट,
idea in terms of
या
what you might want to pursue in the future.
या
So you must first look at which place has the best capacity to offer it. For
राइट,
example, for arbitration, there are mostly places in Europe that are much better and more recognized than perhaps places within the UK or
राइट,
even sometimes the US. So, there it isn't a rule of
या
thumb that
रूल ऑफ
country
थंब,
will
या
have the best universities. It's always going to
राइट,
be a question of subject specific
राइट, राइट, राइट,
opportunities.
राइट.
So you must consider that.
Okay. So that is it with respect to the LLM part. Now, just a little more elaboration on. So you did the LLM in your case, right? And then what happened? Did you apply for this position? We're back with the recording now. There are certain clarifications that they were going on, and जब हम edit करेंगे आपके पास पहुंचेगा. I know it's unfiltered season, but still कुछ edits करके जब आपके पास पहुंचेगा तो you will be able to process it. Now the question was very simple. We were asking कि आप LLM जब करते हो वैसे जगहों पर, फिर आपने अप्लाई किया टीयर 1 फर्म के लिए वापस यहाँ पे, तो हाउ डज दैट पैन आउट? और उसके पहले आई थिंक यू वर्कड विद ट्राई लीगल आल्सो, राइट, फॉर अ वेरी brief period or amount of time, that is before this LLM eventually happened, right? So that is something that you could comment on, and then probably we'll move forward with it. Yeah,
Cool. So before, when I was doing my LLM, I applied for a vacation scheme with
right,
Herbert Smith Freehills.
right,
Vacation scheme is their version of an internship, like
right,
an assessment internship. So if it goes well, they eventually offer you a training contract, which
okay,
is like a sort of like, in a way, it's a job, 2-year training period. If you do well, you become an associate.
right,
So eventually, my vac scheme went well. I was offered a training contract. The catch was that the contract was to start 1 year after I came back.
right,
And I wasn't comfortable in waiting for that 1 year period because I would have not been able to do anything, in terms of my career in that time. So I decided to come back. I thought to myself that, I know the law I want to do. I know where I want to make a difference. India is a growing jurisdiction,
right,
and I would be able to contribute a lot more here than I would there because law there was very settled at that point of time. While
right,
with us, it was still relatively younger.
yeah, yeah,
So that was my mindset in terms of coming back. And when I was coming back, I was considering all the options before me, all the firms that were practicing the subject matter, that were in the city that I wanted to move to. And eventually, given the profile of the matters at the time and the people associated at the time, I ended up picking Sam, and I've been here since.
right.
So that's pretty much been my journey from there to now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the application process also, I was just trying to look out. There are so many complexities that you need to navigate through. And especially when you're trying to how put out the words in a way कि ये काम इस समय हुआ और वो चीजें उस समय हुई, and that's very well put also. I think that is even a better summarization of how things went out from that LLM. And thank you so much for clarifying those things also. इसके अलावा मेरे पर्सनली कोई क्वेश्चंस नहीं है. दिस इज वेयर वील ट्राई टू कंक्लूड द इंटरव्यू. एंड आई हैड पर्सनली हैड अ ग्रेट टाइम. मेरे मन में जो भी था एंड जो भी एस्पिरेंट्स के मन में था, आई होप we have been able to answer it. Ravina, just a short comment. I think your career is fantabulous. It's fantastic. Whatever you're trying to do with your balancing out the social and legal part of things, according to me, it's not easy. You can put it as you want to, but it's not easy. It's not easy to do it, and that is why a lot of people are not doing it, right? So I won't take that away from you. And it's really wonderful how you've been when you said that grandfather ke wajah se we started this social organization. We thought that we could, and we're not being able to scale it, but something that is slow. It's like a slow work in progress. And accepting your realities as it is, talking about championing causes, and then at the end of the day, you are a senior associate at one of the most wonderful firms in the country. So, thank you so much for joining us today. I had a wonderful time hosting you, and this will hands down be one of my most favorite shows for this season. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I hope this helps some people who are trying to navigate what they want to do in their careers and gives them some sort of light at the end of the tunnel, if at all. But your words have been too kind. I'm not doing anything as such. I do my job and then, just a little bit more. Nothing so uh, crazy. But yeah, I hope at the end of the day, I think for law students, eventually, like if you ask me what I would look back in law school and what I think about, it's genuinely not the internships or the courses or the marks or the subjects. When I look back a lot of times just at the memories. So
Yeah.
just don't lose focus on having that side by side, because remember that these friends of yours in law school are eventually going to become your pillars of support when you are a professional as well. You're going to be calling them for doubts. They're going to be sharing the same stresses and joys and fears and ambitions as you. So don't forget those memories along the way, definitely.
Right, right, definitely. And just a quick last comment on being on the show, because this is the part where you say good things about the show, we edit it, and then we play it, and that no, no, just yeah, it's all right, it's all right. You said whatever you had to. It was wonderful, Ravina. Thank you so much. And also for people, we will be reshooting the intro. And BTS देख लेना एक बार behind the scenes. उसमें हम कुछ कुछ चीजें जो edit हो सकती हैं वो वैसे की वैसे ही डाल देंगे. जो नहीं हो सकती we'll put it as a compilation as a part of the interview, and you will have it soon. Thank you so much, Ravina. We should close this now. I think I'll stop recording for this part. And that is it. Thank you guys. This show will be out soon. So we are recording it on 11th, but ये चला जाएगा next Sunday तक तुम लोग देख पाओगे. And I hope तुम्हारी queries address हो जाएंगी. प्लीज रवीना कुमार सेठिया जी को अप्रोच करिए लिंक्डइन पर अगर आपको डाउट्स हैं, इफ शी डज नॉट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम ऑब्वियसली विद इट. एंड जो भी क्लैरिफिकेशंस हैं उनको शॉर्ट रखिए, क्रिस्प रखिए, इन हर वर्ड्स, एंड ससिंक्ट रखिए. And yeah, please do reach out to her in case you want your queries to be addressed. Please be respectful. And बाकी तो तुम लोग संभाल ही लोगे. चलो, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you.